Hey, hello, hi English readers. Welcome to this new live read along of Mrs Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Sorry. Welcome to this uh, new live reading. This is our last session. Not our last week, sorry. This is our last week reading this graded reader adaptation by Penguin Readers. And today we're going to read a new section, and we will finish on Friday. So we've got three, well, today and two more sessions, and we'll be done. It's gonna be a sad day on Friday. Anyway, I'm Lydie Bureau and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, in which I host live readings of adaptations of classics of English literature, like this one, or contemporary novels as well. And I tend to prioritize books that are written by women. And also in this book club, I host a Zoom session once a week in which we meet with the members of the book club via Zoom to discuss the chapters or the sections of the book that we are currently reading. So it's a very good way, I would say, to practice your speaking skills. This is the, let's say, the only opportunity to really practice your speaking skills, because during the live sessions, you can only interact with me through messages, or when you watch the video on replay, you can only comment by writing in the comment sections. So really being able to be fully part of the book club is also to be able to practice your speaking skills and your English. And also it's a good way to get to know each other much more and exchange ideas in a more deep way, or a more yeah, in a more direct way as well. It's much more direct than messages, and it allows you also to be part of the community and get to know other people as well who love English literature as you do and want to talk about books, and without feeling like they need to understand, or to feel like um, they or let's say feel don't feel too intimidated by other students who can be who have a higher level, or who can be native speakers. So really this book club is to allow you to speak freely about your feelings about a book. We're not here to analyze. Even myself, I'm not expecting that you know, or you understand all the book and all the meaning around the book. So it's really a way for you to express your feelings around a character or a book, and maybe speculate on what you think the author wants to, what's the author's message. And it's very freeing in a way when we often feel constricted or restricted, sorry, in maybe a literature course, and feel like, oh, I didn't answer correctly to that question, and often you can feel like you don't belong in that space. So yeah, this is what the book club is about, and we're not always reading classics. As I was saying in the beginning of the podcast, we also read contemporary novels. So it's also a way to just read something that it's a bit more light sometimes. But sometimes contemporary novels can have very deep subjects as well, deep topics as well. So that's it for the little introduction about the book club and what we're doing in this book club. We also talk about books in general and learning English. So it's a good way for you to improve definitely your English and your grammar and your speaking skills, as I was saying earlier. So today we're going to read section 13 of the novel, which means that we're going to read page 83 to 86. And if you want to know more about Virginia Woolf and Mrs Dalloway, I invite you to listen to the podcast episode number 17, an introduction to Virginia Woolf and Mrs Dalloway. I recorded this podcast so you will get a broader view and an overview of the novel and about Virginia Woolf as well. So this way, if you don't know the author, or you heard of Virginia Woolf, but you don't know what kind of author she is really, what's her work, then this podcast will allow you to get some answers, and hopefully will make you want to read the book with us. And you can always catch up the live readings on YouTube or be part of the live reading on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, then it's where I host the live. Okay, and then I make it available on YouTube afterwards. So, hi Katie, welcome. So I'm going to do a quick recap now of the novel, not the novel, but just the section 12, the one that we read yesterday. And I'm sorry to announce that it was a tragic day yesterday. Katie, how did you feel about this chapter about Septimus jumping out of the window? So Septimus Warren Smith is a veteran of the First World War. He's married to Rizia, an Italian lady who likes to make hats. Yeah, it was so sad, Katie is saying. She moved, she followed her husband. So they got married in Italy, and then they moved back to London. I mean, they met in Italy because Septimus was, when the war ended, Septimus was posted in Italy, and for him and for her. Oh yeah. So Septimus, at the end of the war, Septimus was posted in Italy, and they got married, and then she followed him to London. But then the mental health, so Septimus' mental health started really to hit, and he had some feelings of kind of depression in a way in Italy already, because he didn't really feel sad. He didn't cry over the death of Evans, his friend, and also um, a soldier who was also a soldier during the war. So his friend died, and the war ended, and he didn't really, guess, had the time to grieve and talk about this trauma that is the war. And he started to have some symptoms in Italy, but just got along. And he was staying at this inn in in Italy, near Milan, and he met there Rezia, and just followed the flow, as one would say, and got engaged with her. But he never really loved her, even though now looking back, I feel like there is some, I mean, he was before the war, before he got in, he volunteered to fight for in the war. He was in love with this woman. She was probably a teacher, um, English teacher or something, because she was working in a theater, or working. She was doing a presentation about Shakespeare, and um, he fell in love with her. But then the war happened, and they never met again. And then he got engaged with Rizia, but never really took the time to get to know her, I guess. And um, I think some feelings developed throughout the years. And that's why you can see quite a strong bond between them, because yesterday in the chapter, when the doctors, especially Dr. Sir Bradshaw, William Bradshaw, wants to take Septimus away he's because of his strange behaviors and the fact that he's talking to himself. He wants to take him away to a nursing home where nobody would see him, so away from his wife. She doesn't agree with that, and she doesn't want to be separated from him. And um, so there is an attachment, yeah, sort of an attachment between the two. And Septimus as well doesn't want to be separated from Rezia, because she's the only one who loves him and um who understands him as well. So yeah, uh there is a form of love as well here. But so Septimus, so Rezia tried to find some help with doctors. So there are two doctors who are now treating Septimus. So Dr. Holmes and Dr. Sir William Bradshaw. And these two men don't really understand Septimus's illness and mental condition, and they're not really interested in getting to know more or try to understand that that condition, and or why he's tormented. And for Dr. Holmes, it's just Septimus just needs a little bit of fresh hair, some to do some activities and sports um, to get some fresh hair and have and occupy his mind on something else than his own thoughts. And there is nothing to worry about. And for Sir William Bradshaw, he understands there is something wrong, and for him the only solution is to separate him from his wife and to put him in a home, a nursing home, and to get some treatment. But as you can imagine, those treatments are quite close to torture, especially at the time in the early 20th century. The techniques of psychiatry and all that were either medication or also electronic shocks, or like shocks, I would say. So yeah, so it was quite controversial as well. Well, it became controversial later on. So yes, basically Razia is kind of in she's kind of stuck in this situation where she doesn't really find the help that she needs and the understanding that she needs. And there is this beautiful moment in this section in which they're having a lovely time with Septimus, and for a glimpse of a short moment, Septimus is himself, and they're laughing together because Razia is making this hat for a client, and the hat is too small, and Septimus is joking with her about the hat, and they're having this lovely time. But Dr. Holmes knock at the door at the same at that moment, and Razia doesn't want to let him go upstairs because Septimus doesn't like Dr. Holmes. He calls him human nature, basically a monster. He identified Dr. Holmes as a monster, and he is afraid of him. But Dr. Holmes doesn't care, and he wants to see him instead, and forces the passage. So Razia is in front of him at the door, and she says, "Oh no, he's not. He doesn't. You can't see him now." But Dr. Holmes insists and goes upstairs, and when Septimus sees him, then he is so disturbed that for him the only solution is to jump out of the window. He can't put on the gas or cut himself or whatever. He needs a quick solution, and he wants an escape and find peace and not being tormented by these doctors. Because as I was saying yesterday, in the video, the doctors are very intrusive, as we can witness in this section. Not only they're intrusive in a way that they are in Septimus and Reese's mind constantly because of the things they say, but they're also becoming intrusive, like Dr. Holmes, who is not welcomed in their house, but still insists on seeing Septimus, and that leads to Septimus's death. But for Dr. Holmes, as we learn at the end of the section, he is not seeing himself as one of the reason why he jumped, and he is not, doesn't feel guilty at all. Any guilt comes to him. So yeah, he doesn't put himself in question or anything. So that's yeah. And it's interesting when you've got Dr. Holmes saying, crying, the coward rushing through the door. Yeah. So it's very judgmental in a way, the way that Dr. Holmes call Septimus coward. But here one could ask, well, is he a coward? Really? Is it do you agree with Dr. Holmes or not? So that's also something that is quite interesting to see how Dr. Holmes' views on Septimus. No one was at all to blame, he told Mrs. Filmer, and why he did it. Yeah, no one is to blame for Septimus's death, only himself. So yeah, it's he's drawing conclusion very quickly. Anyway, so let's continue now and see what's happening next with our other characters. So we've got Peter Walsh and Clarissa, who's preparing for her party. So let's see what happens next. The light. High bell of ambulance sounded. It is one of the great achievements of society. Peter Walsh thought. That was progress. Quickly, cleanly, the ambulance rushed to the hospital, having picked up some poor creature, someone knocked down at a crossing perhaps, as might so easily happen to oneself. So here we can imagine that it is the ambulance of Septimus. Every vehicle pulled aside to let the ambulance pass, and busy men pictured someone's poor wife inside. But one must stop these thoughts of doctors and dead bodies before they went too far and made one sentimental. I would stand here and cry, he thought, if no one could see, for one may do as one chooses in private. For moments like this, like these, in which things came together, like life and death, took one's breath away. So here Peter Walsh is witnessing the tragic event of Septimus' death. Years, and he's reflecting as well on life. Years ago, Clarissa had told him, sitting together on the top of a bus, that she felt herself everywhere, in everything there was. It helped her to believe, for she had a horror of death, that that the unseen part of us might survive in people or even places after death, perhaps. Looking back over their long friendship of more than 30 years, he understood something of what she meant. However short, broken and painful their meeting were. This morning, for example, they were interrupted by Elizabeth, coming in like a beautiful, long-legged horse. The effect of them on his life was enormous. She had affected him more than any person he had ever known, and she appeared to him like this, in all her moods, without him wishing it. One scene after another at Burton came back to him. He had reached his hotel. He crossed the hall, collected his key and some letters, and went upstairs. He pictured her most often at Burton in the late summer, on top of a hill, her cloak blowing, her hands on her hair, crying out to them that she could see the river below. Then, after dinner, old Joseph Breitkopf would sit at the piano, and sing in a trembling voice, and they would try not to laugh, but they could not help it. They were always laughing at nothing. Oh, this blue envelope was a letter from her. That was her writing. Reading her letter required a huge effort. It would be another of their painful meetings. How heavenly it was to see him. She must tell him that. That was all. But it upset and annoyed him. He wished she hadn't written it. Why couldn't she leave him alone? After all, she had married Dalloway and lived with him in perfect happiness all these years. Heavenly to see you. She must say so. He folded the note and put it away. Nothing would make him read it again. To get that letter to him by 6 o'clock, she must have written it as soon as he left her. It was very like her. So now we are at the end of the day, towards the end of the day. It's 6 p.m. here. She was upset by his visit. She had remembered perhaps something he had said, how they would change the world if she married him. But now instead, there was being middle-aged and ordinary. And then, with their energy for life, their toughness, her power to overcome difficulties, which was greater than anyone's he had ever known, she forced herself to put all that aside. He could see her going to her writing table, tears running down her cheeks, wanting to make him happy, and writing that one line, "Heavenly to see you," and she meant it. It would not have been a success, their marriage. He pulled off his boots and emptied his pockets. Out came his knife and a photo of Daisy, all in white, looking charming. And he could hear the pretty, dark-haired girl crying that, of course, she would give him everything he wanted. And she was only 24, with 2 children. Indeed, what a mess he had got himself into at his age. The thought would disturb him in the night quite forcefully. Suppose they did marry. It would be fine for him. But what about her? Mrs. Burgess? Mrs. Burgess, a sensible woman whom he trusted, had said Daisy had to think of her position in society. His absence in England might give Daisy a chance to think again. She would have to give up her children when she got divorced. And after Peter died, she would be alone with no good friends. But Peter Walsh didn't mean to die yet. Anyway, Daisy must decide for herself, he thought, and took his white shirt, for he might go to Clarissa's party or to the theatre. Or he might stay in and read a book written by a man he used to know at Oxford. If he stopped working, that's what he would do, write books. And it might be better, as Miss Burgess said, if Daisy forgot him or just remembered him as he was in August 1922, standing at the crossroads in the evening. Yes, he would go to Clarissa's party. He would go because he wanted to ask Richard what the government thought it was doing in India. He wanted to find out what was on at the theatre, what concerts there were. Simply, he wanted people, conversation. He would have dinner. He would smoke a cigarette, and he would walk through the warm summer night among the lively, beautiful young people to Westminster, to Clarissa's door. Right? That's the end of this section. Well, not much happening here. Nothing. Well, comparing to the previous section, yes. Only Peter Walsh, again, reflecting on his marriage, on his life and his potential marriage with imaginary, marriage with Clarissa. There is a lot of what if I had married her. It seems though that it's contradicting himself all the time, because he'd say, oh, it wouldn't have been a success, and then later he says, oh, but I would have been fine with it, actually. But would she had been fine with this marriage? Would she be happy? So here is quite novel as well, novel or quite new, I would say. The fact that he is, and I guess maybe that shows also the fact that it's a woman writing here. I don't know, but that's my feeling. Here, he is actually questioning here, and also in the previous sections with Peter Walsh, he's worrying about Clarissa's happiness, because he definitely would have loved being married to her, to be honest, really, here. But what he is more fearful of is the fact that he is not sure about about Clarissa's happiness. Would have she been happy about their marriage? Either, I would say, either it's a lack of confidence in her love towards him, or as just a lack of confidence, or he is a man that cares about her friend's thoughts about how she feels. And we can say that as well at the beginning is asking her, are you happy in your life? So I think he's a modern man here. Peter Walsh is a modern man because um, he is he cares about Clarice's feelings, I would say. He's more worried about her feelings about the marriage than about his own. Yeah, about himself. I don't know. This is how I feel here. Reading again about Peter Walsh and again questioning, and it feels like it is constantly in it's a circle. Like he's always asking himself the same questions. So it's repetitive. Yeah, it tends to be a little bit repetitive here with Peter Walsh. Um, he's a little bit disturbed about this letter that Clarissa sent him to thank him or for coming in the morning earlier and spending some time with her. So she's thankful, and she just want to say him that they had a lovely time together. Heavenly, she says. And this little letter from her is enough to to disturb him and revive old feelings and all the love that he has for her. As he said, is the only woman that um, mm, towards he uh, had such feelings. I can't remember where it was, but yeah, I guess he's he's never loved anyone more than her. So um yeah, here is still Peter Walsh um being tormented by Clarissa's letter and his love for Clarissa, and the fact that he's pretending, oh no, I'm just going to the party because I want to ask some serious questions to Richard about India, the government, I mean, politics, and not because he wants to see Clarissa again. So, yeah, it's quite it's quite funny here. Anyway, well, now I'm quite curious to know what are your feelings about this section of the book. I hope you enjoyed this live reading and my little reflections on this passage. And thank you for being live with me, and also thank you for watching and following along this reading of Mrs Dalloway. And also make sure that you subscribe to the book club membership to be part of this literary journey, practice your English and improve your English with reading and conversation. So I wish you a beautiful end of the day. It's very beautiful and sunny here today. So I hope it is for you as well. And I will see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock this time, 6:30, sorry, 6:30 Central European time for the reading of section 14. Bye.